Mario & Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Story was released in January of 2019 and became the worst-selling Mario game since the Virtual Boy. At the time of writing, the game has sold about 34,500 copies, and this, along with a few other games with poor sales, have been credited with the bankruptcy of the Mario & Luigi series devs, Alpha Dream. The game's performance, mixed with the final few titles released for the 3DS, sent a signal to Nintendo that continued support of the console would likely only lose money, even if the majority of what was planned were only remakes. However, much was already in production, and Nintendo had plans for the 3DS up to and including the year of 2020. All of those titles in development were either outright cancelled or moved over to the Switch, and we're going to be talking about a few of them. In this report, I will be discussing all the titles that were planned for the 3DS for both 2019 and 2020. However, due to poor sales of previous releases, Nintendo had to shake things up and rethink their plans with the Switch primarily in mind. Some have already been released, some have already been cancelled, but many will be out someday. Here we go. First is a series I'm not that intimately familiar with, Style Savvy, also known as New Style Boutique. The last release, Style Savvy Styling Star, was released in late 2017 with a general release pattern of 2.5 to 3 years between games. Sin Sophia, the developer of Style Savvy, hasn't released a game since late 2018 with Kurato Pre-Chant for the Japanese arcade market. Earlier this year, Sin Sophia listed a request for Unity developers on their recruitment page, specifically mentioning design work needed to be completed for Switch titles. Now, as of writing, Sin Sophia has not released nor announced a title for the Switch, or a title at all since 2018, and seeing as their only ongoing consumer-focused franchise is Style Savvy, it could be speculated that this title may have moved to the Switch since the 3DS's production halt. This is a long-rumored title, and would have been a full remake of the Virtual Boy Wario Land game. Regarded the best on the system, Virtual Boy Wario Land seemed like a decent idea for the 3DS, trading the monochrome red and black of the Virtual Boy with a full-color 3D screen. Through all iterations of this rumor, Chibi Robo developer Skip Limited was stated to helm the project. Nintendo themselves filed a trademark for something called Awazan no Hiho in mid-2017. This phrase, which roughly translates to Treasure of the Awazan, was the subtitle for Virtual Boy Wario Land's release in Japan. Nintendo then filed a second trademark, this time just for Wario Land, 10 months later in March of 2017. In recent forms of this rumor, some dating back to last year, and some even being discussed earlier this summer, the project was nearing completion around fall of 2019. However, and at least as of August of this year, the website for developer Skip Limited returns a 403, with no request to renew the lease for the domain. This, in conjunction with rumors to the effect of Skip's recent closure due to bankruptcy, does not speak well to Wario Land's rumored next entry. That said, the last title released by Skip Limited on Nintendo hardware was Chibi Robo's Ziplash. This was a collaborative effort between Skip and another Nintendo collaborator, Vanpool, whom most likely was responsible for Super Kirby Clash on the 3DS. Out of all the unreleased titles on this list, the Virtual Boy Wario Land remake projects is the oldest rumor, and is one that appears most frequently. It famously appeared on a 4chan post from late 2017 that actually accurately predicted the Link's Awakening remake and WarioWare Gold. Intelligent Systems was busy with titles by the time the 3DS had hit its end-of-life cycle. There have been rumors to the effect of Intelligent Systems having 3 of their major franchises in production in late 2018, including Paper Mario, Fire Emblem, and Advanced Wars. Now, for Advanced Wars, a trademark was filed for the series in December of 2018, and in an interview with Eurogamer, Fire Emblem Echoes developers said, quote, "Personally, I'd love to do Advanced Wars, but since it's harder to create relationships between its characters compared to Fire Emblem, I don't have a clear idea of what kind of setting it would have." There's also a rumor for a Paper Mario 64 remake, this attempting to clean up some of the graphics and push it more in line with the Paper Marios of recent years. However, the RPG battle system, experience points, and partners would remain intact. Lastly is a remake of both Fire Emblem 6 and 7. Fire Emblem 6 famously introduced Roy in Japan, and also was the reason Roy appeared in Smash Bros. Melee back in the early 2000s, introducing Americans to the series. Fire Emblem 7 was released in America as just Fire Emblem for the Game Boy Advanced. Intelligent Systems has talked about wanting to remake these two games in conjunction as a title called Fire Emblem Echoes Blazing Sword. In an interview with Fire Emblem Echoes development team, they spoke of this as, quote, "Unfortunately, Roy's story has never been told, so it would be great if we could release a remake of his story in particular." Now, a lot of the rumors that we're discussing also include 3 other games. One is Pikmin 3 Deluxe, and there's not a whole lot to say about that. It was not originally planned for the 3DS, it just was always seen alongside these rumors in late 2018 and early 2019. However, 2 other games that have always appeared is the Link's Awakening remake and the Mystery Dungeon DX remake. The Link's Awakening remake was originally planned for the 3DS. It was switched over in late 2018 and at the same time switched its art style. Initially, the Link's Awakening remake was going to use the same graphics and engine as Link Between Worlds and Triforce Heroes. There has not been a deep data mine of Link's Awakening on Switch thus far. However, I predict that if someone were to, you would find quite a few A Link Between Worlds assets. The Mystery Dungeon remake is almost identical to the 3DS game, and to be honest, it's quite obvious. Every game we've listed here was either cancelled or ported over to the Switch. 2020 has resulted in very little information from Nintendo to begin with, and that's going to continue until things end up getting better in Japan. As of now, they're getting worse. So I'm just gonna have to keep digging for information, continuing to have conversations with people who will talk to me, and making these videos as best I can. Thank you very much for watching Nintendo News Network. If you want to support these videos, get your name in the credits, watch them early, I have a Patreon page down in the description below. If you have any questions or concerns, or you just want to talk, my DMs on both Twitter and Discord are always open. Links to those down in the description below. Anyways, I'm Tyler McVicker. This is Nintendo News Network. Peace and hair grease. Adios.